Hey, everyone, I'm here, and today, we have a story about a forbidden room. There was one rule: never open the mirror room. Young woman named Ava recently moved into her late Aunt Matilda's old Victorian mansion. Aside from being a tad rundown, the place was mostly empty, but there were some peculiar conditions regarding its occupancy set forth by Aunt Matilda in her will. For starters, Ava was only allowed to stay there if she paid the mortgage and property taxes, or else she would be evicted. Second, there was an entire wing of the house she wasn't allowed to enter. No key was provided for the front door of that section, which featured a solid oak door flanked by two smaller windows set high up on the wall. All three were locked with no handles or knobs on the outside. But the occasional draft must have blown in, because sometimes Ava would hear what sounded like whispers behind the door. Those were unnerving enough that she almost never went anywhere near the place. But the third condition was the most intriguing, and also the most infuriating. It had to do with the room at the end of the hall directly across from her bedroom. Its front was adorned with a gilded archway featuring a pair of cherubs flanking a large mirror set between them. That mirror was encased in ornate gold leafing that was chipped and peeling in several places. Just below it hung a brass sconce with a single candle that flickered even though it was hardwired to the mains. Even more oddly, the will stipulated that Ava could not light the candle nor break any of the mirror's glass. What was so special about this room? Why had her aunt gone to such lengths to ensure that it was kept sealed off? Ava thought about the situation often. During the day, she couldn't hear anything. But at night, whenever a storm rolled in, the wind would whistle through the old house, rattling the window panes. And from the sound of it, there seemed to be something on the other side of that mirror trying to get out. Then there were the whispers. They sounded like they were coming from within the wall. Sometimes she would swear she heard her name being called. That's how it was last night. She was woken up by someone calling her name in a voice just beyond hearing, like someone standing just on the other side of a grave. Groaning and pulling the covers over her head, she tried to go back to sleep, but the voice started getting louder. This time, she could make out the words, "Open the door." Whatever was on the other side wanted her to let it in. Despite the warnings in her aunt's will, curiosity got the better of her. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and went to investigate. With the doorknob cool and smooth under her hand, she pushed the door open and stepped into the hallway. The carpet was thick and plush, so Ava made no sound as she walked toward the forbidden room. The flickering candle cast dancing shadows on the wall. Ava could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but otherwise, it was silent. With bated breath, she reached out and pressed her palm against the mirror. It was cool to the touch. Tentatively, she ran her fingers across the ornate gold leafing. It crumbled beneath her touch. She could see herself reflected in the glass, startled eyes staring back at her. Suddenly, the candle flared and the reflection smiled. Ava recoiled, stumbling backwards until she hit the floor. The smile widened and the reflection reached out a finger to caress her cheek. It took a few moments for Ava to collect herself. Still breathing heavily, she slowly rose to her feet. Cautiously, she approached the mirror again, her eyes fixed on her reflection. It tilted its head, as if in thought. Then it did something that made Ava's blood run cold. It reached out a hand and touched the glass. That wasn't her doing it. The movement wasn't mirrored. It was the reflection moving the glass. Her reflection was moving on its own. At first, it was subtle stuff. When Ava stood perfectly still, the reflection would take a step forward. If she turned her head to the left, the reflection would turn its head to the right. At first, these movements were slow and awkward, but after a while, they became more fluid, more natural. Then the reflection started talking, whispering sweet nothings to her that drove her wild with desire. It asked her how she was feeling. Then it started telling her how beautiful she was, how much it wanted to kiss her. Soon, it was practically purring like a cat. The sensually toned voice sent shivers down Ava's spine, and she found herself leaning closer and closer to the glass. One night, the reflection slid its finger along the glass from her waist up to her neck. "I want to feel your skin against mine," it whispered. "I want to taste your lips." Ava moaned and reached out to touch the glass, but it flinched away as if repelled by her. "No, no, no," it said. "You don't understand. I want to be with you, to feel you, to know you." It didn't respond. She was in too deep. Her whole body ached with desire, and all she could think about was the feeling of those slender, elegant fingers wrapped around her throat, kissing her neck, trailing down her shoulder. It seemed to read her mind. So impatient, it whispered, its voice filled with mock annoyance. "Oh, I can't wait any longer." In a flash, it lunged through the mirror, its hands outstretched. Startled, Ava stumbled back. She could feel its icy fingers brush against her cheek, and then it was gone. Or rather, she was gone. When Ava looked back at the mirror, she saw herself standing in the room with the blonde-haired girl slumped at her feet. She was kneeling next to her, whispering comfort and caresses in her ear. A chill ran down Ava's spine. She was starting to understand. It wasn't a reflection that had been trapped in the mirror all this time. It was her. But where was she now? Over the next few days, Ava tried everything she could think of to contact the girl trapped inside the mirror. She talked to her, sang to her, even danced for her. But it was always the same. Any movement on Ava's part was mirrored by the girl inside the glass. Except now, the movements were delayed by a second or so. Sometimes the delay was longer. Once Ava reached out to touch the glass and the girl inside the mirror did the same. But she was frozen in place and couldn't move for what felt like hours. Finally, she was able to pull her hand away and the girl's hand twitched, then relaxed. Then one afternoon, Ava heard a crash from inside the room. She rushed to the door and peered through the keyhole. What she saw made her blood run cold. The girl was lying on the floor unconscious. Blood was trickling down her forehead. Ava screamed and pounded on the door, but it was no use. The girl didn't stir. Desperate to help, Ava began clawing at the glass. She scratched and clawed until her hands were raw and bleeding. But the girl still didn't wake up. Days turned into weeks and the girl showed no signs of life. Then one stormy night, Ava heard a familiar voice whispering to her from the other side of the door. "Open the door. Let me in. I need your help." Startled, Ava dropped the book she was reading. She raced to the mirror room and threw open the door. The girl was sitting on the floor, her back against the mirror. She looked up, her eyes wild and frantic. "Help me," she whispered, her voice hoarse and weak. "I'm trapped." Ava rushed to her side and knelt down. "I'm here to help you," she promised, reaching out to touch the girl's shoulder. The moment their fingers met, a jolt of energy shot through Ava. She cried out and stumbled back. The girl's skin was freezing cold, like ice. Then she began to glow, and the light grew brighter and brighter until it was blinding. When Ava could see again, the girl was gone. In her place was a woman she knew all too well. It was her, or rather, it was the reflection. Only now, it was standing in the room, looking back at her from the mirror. The reflection smiled, a slow, predatory grin that sent chills down Ava's spine. "Thank you," it said, its voice a husky whisper. "Now I'm free." With that, it turned and walked away, leaving Ava alone in the room with her reflection. And that's when the door clicked shut. Trapped inside the mirror, Ava could only watch in horror as her doppelganger walked out into the real world. As she watched, her reflection closed the door behind her. Then it turned and smiled. It was a smile that promised pain, that spoke of things best left unknown. As the door swung shut, sealing their fates, both girls knew they would never escape the mirror room.